David.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming. I had a chance to look over your intake form, and I appreciate you taking the time to fill that out. But today's meeting, we're actually going to be going over something called the Informed Consent Agreement. We're legally required to do this. It's kind of long, it's kind of boring, but it's pretty important that we go over this form just so you know what I expect of you. So my expectations are clear, and so we know legally what things are covered, what things aren't covered. It's pretty important. And when we are done with this, our next appointment, we're going to be going over something called the biopsychosocial assessment. And then that's where the rubber meets the road. We'll start talking about your treatment plan goals, but today we have to go over the informed consent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. Okay, let's get cracking. And I provided a copy for you as well if you want to follow along. And I can also get an emailed version of this to you later, but we'll go over that towards the end. So
okay.
Let's go for this. So this document, it contains important information about my professional services, talks about something called HIPAA. You probably have heard of HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which federal law describes your patient's rights, and what I can disclose as far as protected health information. Counseling is a relationship between you and me, and it works because of clearly defined roles. And this form is going to help us understand exactly what those are.
Okay.
So, goals of counseling. There are many goals of counseling. Some are short-term, some are long-term. But I'm going to work with you, and you're going to help decide what direction you want to go. These are your goals. This is your planning session, and I'm here to facilitate growth for you in whatever way you find valuable and useful. There are risks and benefits to counseling, just like with any practice. Sometimes we might talk about things that are unpleasant, or emotions can be strong. There's no guarantee that counseling will work, and in order to be successful, you're going to have to put work into it. You might be sent with some assignments, some things to work on throughout the week. But I promise, as you put forth the effort, I firmly believe that progress can be made. And there are a lot of benefits to counseling. You're going to learn some coping skills, make behavioral changes, reduce symptoms of mental health. And once again, back to the goals. I'm going to look at your goals, and we're going to come up with a way to help you accomplish those. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so appointments. Typically, our appointments are going to be 50 to 60 minutes. And once a week is usually how you start out with. And we'll pick a date and a time that works. If you need to cancel, I ask you give me 24-hour notice. And that is because there's patients that are on a list for emergency appointments. If you cancel, then that allows our office time to maybe plug in someone else who could use your time. But if I don't get that proper notice, you're going to be responsible to pay for the cancellation fee, which will be the cost of the appointment. So if you can come to your appointments on time, that would be great. Even if you show up a little bit late, we have to end on time. So I want to maximize the help that you can get. So coming on time to appointments is the way to go if possible. If there is a
if I need to change, can we flexible, do different times, different weeks, or if I need to make a change?
Sure. With enough heads up, I can make a lot of modifications. We can pick a different date or time if what you have scheduled isn't working. Also, if there's some big old emergency, if you get in a car accident on your way to me, then we're going to work through that. Emergencies, for sure, we're going to look at with a different lens. But if you just decide that you're bored or want to do something else for the day and don't get a hold of me with that 24-hour notice, I just want to make sure that we have a working relationship. We're both respectful of each other's time.
Okay.
That's a good question. So next on to confidentiality. You're going to be required to sign a consent form before any information can be released. So that makes sure you understand that I'm not going to send information to random people that maybe you mention or suggest in an appointment. I'm not going to do anything behind your back. You will always know when I'm releasing information. If I receive a court order to release information, that sometimes happens, I will work to ensure that I give the least amount of information that I'm legally required to. So I want to respect your privacy as much as I possibly can. Also, if I need some assistance in going over your case, I might work with a colleague, but they will never know your name. I'm not going to reveal that private information. So trying to be best practice, get your confidentiality secure. Okay. Speaking of confidentiality, group therapy, if you engage group therapy, that can be tricky as far as confidentiality goes. I can't guarantee that all group members will maintain your confidentiality. I will be reminding the group regularly to keep information private with other members. And I do have the ability, if I recognize that a group member is not following that, I can ask them to leave the group. But group confidentiality can be challenging, and just wanted to make sure you understand that as you potentially go into that practice, that I am a source that can be trusted for confidentiality. Groups can be challenging.
And so why would I want to do a group therapy?
There's a lot of camaraderie that can be found in groups that are struggling with maybe the same concerns or have the same goals in mind. Okay. It can be a really great place to see other people in your situation. Friendships can be formed. It can be really valuable. It's also can be less expensive if resources are an issue. But as we dive into your concerns and goals, we'll be able to better determine if group therapy is a good idea for you.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Next, let's talk about telemedicine and pros and cons. Telemedicine, that's technology-assisted counseling that can be done over email, phone, and video. There's some benefits to it, some really good benefits. You don't have to go somewhere, so it reduces stigma. You can pick the place where you have your therapy, whether that be in your own office, at work, or at home, in a bedroom. It's more convenient. You don't have to travel back and forth. It's going to reduce the cost associated with travel. You can have it real-time monitoring. It's I'm engaged in that same hour as I would be if we were sitting across from each other like we are right now. And it also increases the availability. You can reach people in hours that maybe an in-office would not be hospitable to. Early morning, late night, people that are homebound. Really, really good benefits of telemedicine. But there are some limitations. I might struggle to see your body language. I might not hear all of what you're saying and need to ask you to repeat yourself. Technology might fail, and we'll get into what happens if that does. And then technology breaches can sometimes happen if somebody walks into your bedroom, perhaps when you're in the middle of trying to share something that you don't want. But I will ensure that there is no one on my end. Speaking of which, I will only be the person in the room when we're doing telemedicine, and I need you to commit as well to being the only person. Nothing can be recorded during our telemedicine therapy sessions as well. Is that understandable?
Yeah. I mean, what if I wanted somebody to be part of our therapy session?
That would be a conversation that we would need to have prior to it happening.
Okay.
And that would be something you could communicate to me over the phone or by email, various ways that I can be reached beforehand.
Okay.
So sometimes it would be beneficial to have possibly a spouse there, or maybe a child that you're struggling with, and we can work through an issue, but something that I would need a heads up on. Okay, thank you. Good question. So logistics, I'm going to email you a link. Nobody else can be in the room. You're responsible for protecting your own confidentiality, and conversations over the phone can be intercepted. So that just bear that in mind. You know, passerbys can hear you. Maybe headphones would work. If the connection is lost and it's it's my fault, then I will try up to 3 times to get a hold of you. I might use a number you're not familiar with. So if you could just pick up during that session, I will be available to you for the entire time of our session. And we will be charged for the full session if the fault lies with your connection. If it's mine, then we can reschedule, we can continue by phone. But if it's a connection issue, like your battery's dead or something like that, then you will be charged, unfortunately, for the full session. Same thing with the video sessions. If I'm available for the entire session, we can finish a video session by phone if that works better, or set a different time. No recording of the sessions. I won't record it if you could not record it. Payment for services is due as agreed upon with the intake. I can only practice medicine within the state that I'm licensed, so Arizona will be the only place. So you need to be in state, I need to be in state. If you move, I can help you find a new therapist, but I'm only allowed to practice in the state of Arizona. 24-hour cancellation policy, I think we went over that pretty well. In case of an emergency, is there a name and a number of someone who you would like me to contact?
You could call my mom.
Call your mother. Okay, that sounds great. And I'll hand you this form if you could fill it out afterwards. Just get her name on there. That's
okay.
Great. Moms are often good resources. If we get disconnected in the middle of a phone call and I see that we're having a crisis, I request that you call 911, or I might need to call 911 on your behalf, just to ensure that you get all the help that you need. There's also a suicide hotline and a Maricopa crisis line, and so I'll get those numbers to you as well. And I'm required to call, and this conversation, I hope, helps you understand that we just want you to be safe. Consent to participate in sessions. If you could sign that if you're okay to agree to telehealth sessions, I'd appreciate if you sign here. I'm going to keep notes on our sessions. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. That will just help me make sure we're on track, and it will include goals for your counseling session. You have access to those if you ever want the notes. That'll be a conversation that we have. I will keep them for up to 7 years, and we just have to fill out a release of information form, and we could get that to you. The professional fees are going to be as outlined on the fee schedule. And with regards to fees, there's a sliding scale. So if you need reduced fees, we can work through that. I'll need pay stubs and tax forms. If you need information, once again, you just have to fill out paperwork to get information released, and written paperwork, and we can get that to where it needs to be. And it's important that you know you're onto insurance, and it's important that you know your insurance program. Sometimes I will need to give a medical diagnosis, a clinical diagnosis to your insurance company, and they might keep that on record. But that is often how insurance works. And if you plan to use your insurance, authorization for the insurance company may be required before they'll cover your counseling fees. So that's something to be aware of. And if you don't go through insurance, or if you want to go through it privately, I can give you a receipt for the payment, so you can send that over to your insurance company. Getting a hold of me. Sometimes that can be hard if I'm in session. I don't ever answer the phone when I'm in session with a client. So know that I will never be reaching for my phone when I'm with you. And the same goes for all of my clients. But you can leave a message on my confidential voicemail that I will return to you, hopefully within 2 business days. And if you're in a crisis, there are those phone numbers that you can contact. But that it'll usually take 1 or 2 business days if it's not an urgent matter. Email. I request, if possible, if you're willing, to use your email address. Sometimes that's a good way to communicate, to send information, newsletters, therapeutic tips. Is it okay if I use your email? Can I obtain that from you? Fantastic. And looks like I just need here for you to fill out the consent to treatment, just your signatures there. And your email, and if you could also get me your emergency contact, that would be great. Would you like an emailed copy of the informed consent form that we just got?
Yes, I would.
Perfect. I can send that to you. And if you ever, what I like about email is you can keep it forever. You can download the copy, but you can always have access to that. If you lose it or accidentally delete the email, just get a hold of me and I can get that to you. I'm excited to see you next week where we will go over your treatment plan goals, but thanks so much for coming in today.
All right.
Appreciate it.